Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Home Cooking. I am Daniel Cook with Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. Here today, we're going to go over some topics of Christmas around the corner, items you're going to be doing around your house to get ready for Christmas. We're also going to talk about some leaks happening around your home that maybe you haven't noticed. I get this quite often, after this time of the year. People have not seen anything wrong with their house, and then all of a sudden they're seeing leaks, and they're like, what's happening? So we're going to go over a few of those topics. We've got Lyndon with us today. Lyndon?
What's going on, Daniel?
Hey, Lyndon. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. Had a good Thanksgiving, and got several weeks to work hard before Christmas and the New Year's here. We start a brand new year.
Absolutely. You got that right. So hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I thought it was a great time to take off and just relax a little bit. Too bad it was a little rainy. Pretty rainy over the whole weekend, actually. So
a little. I don't know where you were, but it wasn't a little wasn't part of any of what I saw. I don't remember when it's rained that much.
Well, we had a couple of inches of good rain. It was a soaking rain, and I think that's what made everybody think it was a lot more.
So, yeah, maybe so. It was good.
But anyway, rain. And when you haven't had rain in quite some time, and believe it or not, we've had an extremely dry summertime. We went almost 70 days without rain. And then we had some storms in the beginning of the season, and we had some high wind in the beginning of the season, but then that stopped, and then we went for 70 plus days with no rain, no kind of storms. And now we've had a few of these thunderstorms roll through, and people always are shocked when they hear about fall thunderstorms. And this is very common around here. We stay very warm up into fall, and then we get these cold fronts or cool fronts, however you want to say it. My wife says cool fronts. They're not cold fronts for her. And they come through, but there's just enough disturbance in the air that causes thunderstorms, just like it does in the spring. And so we'll see this happening, and we'll get some high winds. I saw a marker over in Tarrant County earlier. I think one storm came through, had like 78 mile-an-hour winds. So we still have a lot of high winds coming through, frontline, strong systems. And then we even have some systems that come through with some hail sometimes in October, even November. Mm-hmm. So it's very common. But the real thing is that you probably had damage on your roof from the earlier storms that came through in March and April and May, that you didn't see any leaks happen because maybe they didn't get to a point where they were leaking. Maybe it was just to a point where the shingles got loose, or some shingles got blown off in an area of the roof that you couldn't see, or maybe some of the flashings around some of the siding got weak and got pulled up with some wind. Maybe some hail damage happened to some of those areas on the roof that took a while to dissolve to allow water to get underneath the shingles. So people are always shocked when they say, well, I haven't had any problems with my roof. Why do I have it now? And it's like, well, this is why. And that's exactly why you need your roof checked out. We suggest twice a year, but at least once a year. And the reason why is you're trying to head off getting into some of those events where you're going to start developing leaks at the worst time ever. I mean, we just had this happen. I mean, we had probably 5 calls over Thanksgiving weekend because of all the rain. People's like all their families there. They're starting to use bedrooms that they haven't used, right? I saw this 2 times this weekend. 2 times the wife calls me. She goes, oh, my God, we have a leak in our bedroom. I'm like, okay. She goes, our guest bedroom. My mother-in-law sleeping in there, and she's the one that noticed it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay. So it's like parts of the house that you don't use a lot of, right? So guest bedrooms, upstairs, bathrooms, near the fireplace. A lot of people started using their fireplace this weekend. Mm-hmm. And so we had 2 leaks around fireplaces that people noticed because they were around their fireplace, and they started noticing there had some water moisture around the ceiling, and then they saw some droplets of water coming through. So these are things that are going to happen, and the reason is that you've had these problems, folks. It's just that you haven't had any reason to see them because this is the first time you're seeing a leak.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So extremely important. I know that a lot of people say, I don't see any missing shingles. The storm wasn't that bad at my house. I don't see any leaks, so I don't need anybody to come out to my house to get on my roof. And that, and trust me, I hear that all the time. But this is the reason why you probably should have an annual checkup on your roof.
Well, you don't wait until your car breaks down before you go to the mechanic either. You get them to do a checkup on it, to make sure you check your tires. That's what inspections are for every year, to make, to check things in your automobile. And the same would go for your house. I have a real quick question. You just made me think of something with some shows that we've done before. If anybody's watched any of the insurance shows that Daniel's done and shared so much valuable insurance or information about insurance. Daniel, if you are having someone, a professional like you, come out and check, twice a year on your roof, and you're able to catch things before they get bad, does that help the homeowner when it comes time to maybe file a claim? The fact that you have been there and you've kind of documented what's gone on with that roof over time?
So a couple of things on that topic would be, how old is your roof? Because that roof age should be registered within your homeowner's policy. Usually most companies will give you a pretty good discount when the roof is 5 years or younger, because they're not anticipating any kind of major change outs in that time frame, right? Now, from 5 to 10, they give you a little bit of a discount, but not as much, and it decreases to get past that 10 significantly. The thing that you're going to do the most is that when you're having somebody come out and check your roof, you're going to be able to dictate whether you have true damage or not. That's going to help if you need to have a claim filed. Because I just had this happen in Garland. This lady's had a house since 2014. She's never filed a claim on her homeowner's insurance. She's had the same insurance since 2014. She calls me out because one of her skylights starts leaking. Well, we go out there. I jump up on the roof. It's not just leaking. The glass is cracked, and it's allowing water to come in through the skylight because of an impact on the skylight glass. That probably took a while to develop more until it started leaking. And she even said, well, we had a storm out here, I don't know, a few months ago, maybe earlier in the year, and I thought I didn't see any problems, like everybody else says. So I didn't call anybody. Well, now she's calling people because now she has water coming to her house. So we go, and like always, we're not naming insurances. She calls her insurance. She says, hey, I got a leak coming in my house, had a roofer come out. He suggested I call in a claim because I have damage on my whole roof. They say, no problem. Let's send somebody out there. They send somebody out there. They say, well, we see the damage, but this is really old. All this is old. You haven't had a major storm at your house since 2019. and they say, this is all just wear and tear now at this point. So we're having to go through all this red tape because in her situation, she has had the same insurance since 2014. They made the mistake of pulling up because somehow in between this, her insurance policy number changed. Even though it's the same carrier, they changed her policy number. So whoever's looking at her claim only saw that her most recent insurance was from 2020 until now. They didn't see the other policy from 2014 to 2020. So they said in the letter, since the time of you being a client of ours, this damage did not occur. So that's why we're denying your claim. Well, then now she's having to go back. She had to go pull up the old policy number. Now she's going to prove to them that she's been a client for theirs the entire time that they're saying the damage occurred. And it's just going to take a lot longer. But now we're going to have to file a claim against the previous policy number because that's when the damage actually occurred. They're saying is 2019. And so, but goes back to your question. If we had inspected the roof annually, we would have saw that damage in 2019. We would have said, hey, you're going to have these issues, so you don't have this done now.
Right.
And it would have been all solved, and she wouldn't have to deal with all this headache and all this additional time and effort to get her claim processed.
Correct.
And that's the kind of stuff that you're going to have to do. Because as the client of the insurance company, I can't do that for you. Yeah. You're the only one that's going to have to take the extra time and call the insurance company. Go call your broker or whoever you got your insurance from. Do all the back work and check and make sure you got all your documents in line. All this can be prevented if we just get our roofs checked once a year.
Yeah.
So, but that's a long answer to your question, Lynn, that's something that just happened last week. So now we're having to wait. I had to put temporary tarps up on our skylight to make sure, water's continuing to go into our house and everything. But on the flip side of the coin, let's say that client had a different insurance company. Let's say they have one insurance company now. A couple of years ago in 2019, she had a different insurance company altogether. Well, if that was the case, being that long, almost 3 years, she would have nothing to go against, because most of the time you only have up from between 6 months and a year. You can file against your old insurance company, but you only have so long to do that. So if it's been 3 years, you can't go back to your old insurance company you had 3 years ago and say, hey, by the way, I had a storm in 2019 when you covered my house and now I got damage from it. They're going to look at you like, sorry. Good luck with that.
You've made me just realize, because every time we talk about it, for me, it always falls back to insurance. We could almost do a complete show just on insurance, because you just made me think of something. If a person is out there and they're considering changing insurance carriers, it would really be good to have someone come out and inspect their home before they do that. Would it not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I will be honest with you here. A lot of the major carriers are starting to send out inspectors on roofs before they write the policy, until they
that's smart.
until the underwriting side of the insurance will require it from some of the big lenders now.
Okay.
So they're not just going to get a phone call and say, hey, I need to change my home insurance. Can you give me a quote? Sure, let's give you a quote. And that's one of the big questions on every policy now is, how old is your roof? And if a customer says, oh, it's only 2 years old or it's only 4 years old, they almost require having some type of either invoice or receipt from the time you had it changed out, or they require a roof certification report from a roofing company.
Okay.
So, because they don't want to take the risk of binding this policy, and then in a year from now, you get a small hailstorm at your house that shouldn't damage the roof enough to get it replaced, but yet they walk out there and the roof is
you got to have a full replacement.
It looks like it just got beat up by a hammer.
Right.
They're like, there's no way this roof is 3 years old. So no, they quit doing that a lot of times now.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's really important. I mean, and there's so many things that you can catch, and we see this all the time too. We had another leak that we went out on Saturday before the rain came in again, and flashings are super important around your house. Counter flashings, mortar flashings, and you see all these flashings. People don't know what they really are. They think they're cosmetic, but they're not. They're causing a seal to be made between one surface to the other. And so when you have creases, or you have slopes that go down into another slope or another run of the roof, you have to have a flashing there, because if not, the force of the water and the rain will go up underneath the secondary portion that it's heading into, and that's where you get leaks. So the whole idea of these flashings is that they're aluminum and they're beige, so water can't penetrate. They're not just like another organic material. I mean, they are a true barrier to force that water out and counter it away from the rest of the penetrating areas. And so these flashings, though, a lot of times are sealed with caulking and different types of sealers, mortar sometimes along the brick, but a lot of sealants and a lot of caulkings, and these break down. And we see that usually between the ages of 5 and 7 years. We see this a lot in Texas. And I know everybody's seen you see these sealants and caulkings that say they're lifetime, or 50 years and 40 years and all this kind of stuff. And that's just not going to happen in Texas, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The bonding principles, the properties that these sealants have, they can't withstand. You got to think, we have a 100-degree swing where we live. I want you to take a moment and think about that. We have 100-degree swings where we live.
Yeah.
We get as cold as 0, which is not very often. Okay. We get as hot as 112, 114. I don't know how many other places in the world have that much of a swing. I'm not a certified meteorologist, but I guarantee you it's not very many. So,
no, it's not. And the fact of how fast we get that swing sometimes, I think, is amazing, because, I mean, here in Texas, it can be 98 degrees in the afternoon, and the next morning you wake up and it can be in the 50s. And,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen usually in the summertime, but as seasons start to change,
Yeah.
we see that. I mean, you get up in the springtime and you got a jacket on, and by the afternoon you're in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yep.
And that's got to be hard on those sealants because of the how quick it changes.
Oh yeah, it does. It breaks it down somatically. And every sealant, well, I can't say this for sure. Majority of the companies that put sealants out, they're based on some regional basis too. Like
Mhm.
there are sealants that are specially designed for up north states because they work better in the cold weather. There are some sealants that are designed basically for the southwest and southern regions because they work better in the hot weather. There's very few products that work that really well in both climates because
Right.
you can't design the science and all that. Really smart people design those fluids and those silicones and everything behind certain parameters that are designed to work well within certain climates. And it's
Hmm.
hard to find one that's going to work well in the cold and work well in the heat. Usually you have one or the other, right? You have one or the other. So Texas is very tough on this stuff. So
Yeah.
even when you get the best sealants, they're going to wear out. And so we had a house out in Gunter. Rain was hitting the north side of the wall of the home. It was running down, cascading on one of the windows, and it had a stucco fascia. So the front of the house was stucco, sides of the house were brick, but the stucco had started to separate a little bit around the window casing. And so when the water was running down, it was running behind the stucco into the subwall, and then raining inside the actual house. And it was raining, into a room. You know, those are things that, you know, I don't know if we catch that on a roof inspection. Let's be honest. I'm not going to catch those kind of things. When we're going up, we're looking at flashings, we're looking at shingles, we're looking at entry points of water that are very common, valleys, catch-alls, and stuff like that. Now this was just one that's just a pure maintenance issue, and unless now if you had somebody come out to seal your windows, maybe they would have caught that then. But in this case, that's going to be a leak coming just from pure excessive, just the sealants cracking and developing large gaps, and it causing water to come inside. So again, though, that's some of the things that you see when you have people come out to your home. And I know, you know, people don't want everybody to come out to your home. They're busy, right? They don't want to have to stay home. They don't want to schedule somebody to come out. And the good thing is that majority of the time, if you just call us and say, hey, can you come out and check my roof? I just want to make sure I don't have any leaks. One, it's complimentary. Two, you don't really have to be there. We're not coming inside your house. We're
Right.
looking at the outside. Now, if you say to us, hey, I have 2 or 3 leaks in my house, I need you to come out and look at my roof, then we're going to want to say, hey, can we look at the leaks from inside the house as well? Or can we go into your attic? Because
Got
we
it.
want to
Yeah.
see the leaks coming from the attic down. Because that's another thing people forget. I always hear this question too. Well, if that storm happened in February, how come I'm just now seeing a leak? Well, let's see. You had to penetrate the roof. You had to get through your 18 inches of insulation. Then you had to get through your sheetrock, and then it finally comes into your home. That's probably going to take a while to penetrate all those items, unless you have like a hole in your roof. I mean, if you just have water draining into it little by little, it's going to take a while for that to get through all of that. So that's why we like to go in the attic too, because we always see a better approach of how that water is entering the roof line.
Hmm.
So, but majority
Well,
of the time, if you
Daniel,
don't,
a lot too is a different analogy would be like if you run over a nail with your tire, it doesn't
mm,
necessarily go flat right now.
right,
It may be 3 or 4. You may get a slow leak and
yeah,
you not know where it's coming from, a real slow leak. And as you do more wear and tear and start to that nail starts to move and open that hole a little more, you could have run over that nail 6 weeks before you had to go and have the flat fixed. So,
yeah,
and
absolutely,
then one other thing I wanted to mention that when you talked about the mother-in-law that was in the upstairs bedroom and saw the leak, imagine, as many of us that go away for holidays, that may be gone for a few days. Imagine the water damage, not just from the roof, but maybe within your house, like a skylight, that could happen if you were gone for a week
yep,
and you come home and now that's what you return from a nice vacation from.
yep. It happens too, and unfortunately, that is a. Whew, how can I rephrase this? That is a catastrophic claim that you will never ever forget in your life.
No.
When you have a large water claim inside your house, it is amazing how much damage can occur in a short amount of time. And I'm talking not that long at all. I'm talking like sometimes within 12 hours. You'll be amazed at how much water can cause damage, and it runs so fast and it builds up steam as it goes. Analogy in my head, I just popped in my head. Imagine a small little bitty tiny snowflake that hit the side of the mountain, and it just works its way down the mountain. And by the time it gets down to the bottom, it's this humongous boulder of snow. That's what water does. When it gets into your house and it starts ponding, and then it starts searching, it searches out for the first place it can go, and it just keeps on going. And carpet and subfloor and moldings and baseboards and then all of a sudden, it just compounds. It's just amazing to me. I've walked into places. I've walked into some homes. Whew, yeah.
If anybody's ever had a hot water tank that's busted, and how fast and how much damage it can do, I was gone overnight one time and came home, and I mean it was less than 12 hours. Of course, I mean that's a lot different than a rainstorm. I get it, but it's just it's not the hot water you have to replace. Right. The tank. I mean, you replace that too, but it's just now it's compounded because of all the cosmetic damage that it's done.
I can tell you right now, I can think of 2 claims that we've had over the last year that the roof portion of the claim was less than the inside portion of the claim.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I know that shocks a lot of people because they know roofs are expensive, but I just want I want everybody to hear that one more time. I could take this one particular one that was in Frisco that had damage in 3 areas of the home from inside damage. The roof, I think, was $17,000. I think the inside, the last time we got it all supplemented, came out to almost like $30,000. So it was a $50,000 claim, and $17,000 of it was the roof.
And we have to remember that those insurance companies aren't throwing money at us to fix everything. We have to battle to get that stuff taken care of.
Oh, yeah. And if you have an inside claim on your house, you better be ready, because inside claims are 10 times harder to get documented correctly, to get written up, and to get processed the way that you need them to be in order to replace all those items in your house. Wood floors, oh my gosh. I cannot tell you how much. If you have wood floors inside your house and you have a claim on wood floors, it is a fiasco. Every single carrier always barks about how they're going to replace or how they're going to fix wood floors. And if you've ever had wood floors with water damage, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because they buckle, and then they keep buckling because the subfloor underneath them starts to buckle. And it's like a domino effect. You see a couple of slats here and there, and then you look down and you see a couple of them starting there, and then that just transforms into the whole room. But the insurance company say, oh, I'm only going to pay for this hallway right here because that's all this damage. Okay, you send me the floor guy that's going to be able to come out there and pick up these 12 or 14 slats and put the new ones right back in here and then sand and stain it all so it matches. Go get me that floor guy real quick, please, because I need it.
I happen to know someone that through the Snowmageddon thing, they had a lot of hardwood in the downstairs, and it was a 1.5-year battle.
Yep.
A 1.5 years before they got it fixed.
Yeah, because insurance companies, and again, it's not just about one insurance company; it's all of them. Yeah. And it's because a job of an insurance is to pay to mediate the problem they see at that time. And they don't even understand half the time when they walk into a house. They don't know how it's made, how the repair is going to be done. They're not trained in that. That's why you need a contractor. That's what we do for a living. We don't write insurance policies because we don't know how the hell to write an insurance policy. But if you want your floor repaired, I can do that for you. So there's always this battle between the contractor and insurance, and there shouldn't be. But there always is going to be. Because the insurance has to understand why I can't replace 14 slats in your hardwood floor, hand scraped, custom stained. Okay, I can't replace 14 red oak slats in your hardwood floor right here. I'm going to have to replace it all the way from the break point to the break point in order to get it established correctly. And then we might have to replace subfloor as well because it's buckled. It's not going to. I can't put new nice wood slats on a subfloor that's buckled. I mean, it's got swollen.
Well, the adjuster actually tried to get my friend to go. He tried to talk them into going away from wood and putting tile down.
Because he probably knew that the claim was going to go way up because they're not cheap. Hardwood floors aren't cheap, first of all. And if
Well,
you have
and
to
you got to
repair
look at
them,
the age of them too. Some of that flooring has been discontinued. You can't match it.
which is a big time deal in insurance. Again, that brings up, God, we're running out of time. And you know, we do have an insurance show we need to do. But if if you don't have a matching clause in your policy, you could be literally SOL on that, because a lot of insurance companies don't have to have a matching, so they could force you to use a different wood altogether if they say this is all we're going to pay for. So
Didn't know
that's,
that.
again, that's a clause in a rider in some of the insurance policies. Matching or discontinued products that have to be changed out. It's like code compliance. There's
Yeah.
so many different riders, you know. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, leaks are bad. So get your roof checked annually. Don't wait until you have a leak. Let's just go ahead and call somebody out there. Call us. Like I said, it's complimentary. What do you have to lose?
Right.
Yeah? But Christmas is right around the corner, Lyndon. We just talked about that. We've got less than what is it?
About 4 minutes left.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I think it's like today's the 28th, so we got roughly about 27 days for Christmas.
Yeah, about that.
So, but Christmas, everybody loves the holidays, and everybody loves Christmas, and we all like to decorate our houses, and we got to have family come over. We want the kids to have a good Christmas, and we get out and we start hanging up Christmas lights. I see this all the time. There's a lot of topics around Christmas lights and hanging them around your house. Please do not hot glue Christmas lights to your shingles. Let me repeat that. Do not hot glue Christmas lights to your shingles. That will not be good for your shingles long term. And I know everybody says that hot glue just comes right off once you peel it off. Well, what you're going to peel off on your shingle is all the granulars on top, which is then going to show the fiberglass matting underneath, which can cause leaks to happen a lot faster. So do not use hot glue on your shingles to hang Christmas lights. Clips are fine. Just make sure that they slide in and out easily. You don't want them to be really rough, and you try to hold them to where you slide them on without sliding them on the shingle. Try to open it up and move the clip up there around the shingle. Make sure it's inserted all the way, and then put the Christmas light up in that way. My suggestion is try to put them in as many gutters as possible. Gutters are great. Mm-hmm. Gutters, you slide that clip down the front side of the gutter, you clip the light in, and that is great. And majority of our houses hopefully have gutters. Fundamental piece for drainage around your home. But gutters make a fantastic thing to add lights to, because they're a lot less, destroyable, and you don't take as much chance, having long-term problems with things that you touch.
Daniel, one of the things that I saw real quick is the binder clips.
Yeah.
The little black binder clips where you can slide the lights in there and then just clip it. Yeah. I've seen people use those before too, because they're easy to use and easy to get off of there. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's a good idea too. I mean, the regular Christmas tree light clips do work really well, and they're easier to. I think they're probably a little bit easier to install than the binders.
Okay.
So, but I mean, either one. Just avoid hot glue. Okay, that's all I can have to say. Also, make sure that you check. The electricity around your home. A lot of these lights are LEDs now, which is great. Back when I was growing up, heck, you couldn't have more than 2 strings of lights on one thing to your plug. It would put way too much power into it. Now these LEDs, you can get 10 and 12 strings, in a row before they get to even close to a power problem, and you still can almost. So the power needs for LEDs are much different than they used to be for the traditional ones when we were growing up. But just make sure that you have sufficient power. You don't, I know we all think about Christmas vacation with Chevy Chase and everything like that, all those lights and everything. Just got to make sure that you don't overload your circuits and you cause problems, because that can happen. Yeah, but again, it's based on what kind of lights you use and how you're wiring them, and if you're using multiple plugs around your home that have multiple breakers, or if you're trying to feed 40 amps of lights into a 20 amp breaker, that's not going to work. So just know what you're dealing with on your outside plugs. Also, the last important thing I want to make sure we're talking about is Christmas trees inside your home. Everybody sets up Christmas trees inside your home sometimes early, and if you're using real trees, they dry out. The lights can get hot enough to cause a fire on those Christmas trees. So you got to make sure you're keeping water inside your Christmas tree base, and it stays as saturated as it can. I even heard one people, after they decorate the tree, they take spray bottles of water and they spray the tree periodically just to keep it moistened around the outside, because the tree trunk only soaks up so much water. It may not get out to the outside tree limbs now that the tree is obviously dead. It's dying. And so that's another thing. It doesn't absorb the water as fast once it's cut. So just make sure your tree stays moist. If you start noticing your tree really dry and all the needles are starting to fall off way before Christmas, that tree is super dry. And you need to be real careful about when you light the lights on it. Maybe you want to turn them off when you leave the house or something like that. You don't want to come back and have a Christmas tree that ignited your house on fire. So very cautious. It happens every year. Everybody always says that never happens, but it happens every year. I always see in the news, 1 or 2 Christmas trees goes up in fire, and it unfortunately kills somebody in their sleep, or they come back and their house is burnt down. So please be knowledgeable about Christmas trees. Even artificial trees. I've even seen in the news in the last couple of years, artificial trees will somehow catch on fire because they're pre-lit. Mm-hmm. And somehow some of those mechanisms will overheat and catch the freaking tree on fire. So you got to be real careful with these kind of situations around your home.
Daniel, I would share with everybody also that, we think about having a fresh, real Christmas tree. If you've ever been, and we do like what we call control burns, that, we have a certification to control burn property. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen a live cedar tree go up instantly, and it's alive, it's got water, but they're worse than a torch. It's like gasoline. And that's a live one that is hydrated. And so if you could just imagine that with one that's dried out. The first time I ever saw one, because I'd always heard about Christmas trees. Fortunately, I've never been through that tragedy, but I always heard about the dry ones. And I'm like, well, that'd be really bad. And then I saw a living tree, and how fast, I'm talking 3 seconds, and they're gone.
Right.
And so people need to be aware of that.
No, we've had some friends out in the country who were taking trees out, and when I was younger, and we just toss them out there and burn them, at the end of the year, just to get rid of them. And a dead Christmas tree that's been in your house for about a month, set that puppy on fire and see what happens. That thing is just engulfed in this. It starts out like a huge ball of fire. It just, once it gets started, it just catches the limbs above it. It starts as this huge ball of fire, whoosh, and then it just works its way back down, and everything's just black, and it just keeps burning them. Until all the inside's just completely ash. But it happens like you're saying. It's like instantaneously, just woof, and then it comes back, and it's just wow, it's amazing to me. So,
we had about a 6 or 7 foot cedar tree that caught on fire. This is the one I remember the most, and I can promise you, as it caught on fire, within seconds, there was a flame about 25 feet high, and it was only 6 feet high. Right. It was. It's seriously like a torch.
Yeah, absolutely. Dangerous. It's a great time of the year. It's a beautiful time of the year. I'm glad for the holidays. It gets all our families together. It lets us have some time and think about everything. And hopefully, it gives you some time to reflect on your life and your family and be proud of everything that we've worked so hard to have. We just got to be cautious. We got to be safe. We can't let the outside world contaminate, our thinking sometimes. And sometimes we have to have common sense. Exactly. Sometimes we lose our common sense because we're having such a good time with our family, and our kids are home, and our grandbabies are home, and we're not thinking. We're just more worried. It talks about Home Alone. The whole family was trying to rush and get going with Christmas, and they forget their kid behind them. But that's how life is around Christmas. You're trying to get all your stuff. You're trying to get to your next party. You're trying to get the presents. And sometimes we just forget about our house. And houses, you don't want to forget about them, folks.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, we are out of time. I'm going to let you close us out, and we'll be back on the air next week as well. So I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and Daniel, take it from here.
All right. Yes, folks, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving and Christmas around the corner. Hope everybody is getting geared up, and we'll have a great holiday time with your family. If you want to make sure your home is safe and ready for the holidays and ready for the next phase of the seasons, give us a call, 1-833-COOK-DFW. Give me an email, daniel@cookdfw.com. Complimentary, like we talked about, let us come out, inspect your roof. We can walk around your property, see if we see anything else that you need to be aware of, just to make sure your home is safe and protected, guys. All right, we'll see y'all next week. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.